Hey everyone, how are you all doing? So I've got a really special guest today. This is John Frankl, an absolute legend in the Jiu-Jitsu world. John's a 5th degree black belt, and he's actually responsible, correct me if I'm wrong John, but John's responsible for bringing Jiu-Jitsu to Korea in the 90s, was it in the 90s?
99, yeah.
And founder of SBG Korea. John's well known in the sport and you know, in worldwide in Jiu-Jitsu. And how long you been training, John?
31 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah. But we all started just like you.
I was just saying earlier, like when, you know, being right at the start, I've been training just over a year. And when I started to train, I got in my head that this is going to be one hell of a journey, one long journey, probably a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going to have to accept 2 years of being absolutely smashed on the bottom and maybe a bit longer.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it still happens some days. It's relative to your training partners and your condition.
We met on Sunday, right? Because John's here on business. Where have you been so far?
So I started in Stirling, Scotland. I had a paper to present at an academic conference. And the timing was right to have one weekend in between the UK camp this weekend and the Europe camp next weekend. So I was able to get a seminar in South Shields at Alex's place and then come down here to Manchester. So yeah, I just worked out to have 4 weekends in a row like that.
Last minute I shot up to South Shields to meet you and Alex. I've known about Alex gym for a while. So Alex...
Beautiful gym, huh?
So Alex is like, it was a Cage Warriors champion, wasn't he? You know,
14 or so professional fights, and now dedicated to coaching.
Yeah, so he was an absolute beast, and it would have been a right handful in his day.
Yeah, I'm sure he still is.
He is, yeah. When I started, I thought, I'll go to the gym, you know, I've got a bit of muscle, I'll just go in there and, you know,
we all thought that. We all thought that.
Quickly realised how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Even like when I train at our gym, so my coach Glyn, always refers to John, and Glyn's not particularly a big guy, is he?
No, we're about the same size, I would say, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to climb up here.
Oh yeah, no worries. But when you Glyn to me, it's like because of his level of skill.
Oh yeah.
He feels like he's 100 kilos.
Sure.
You know, he just feels so heavy and
relaxation, weight distribution.
One thing I realised, you know, you just as a beginner, you're just thrown left and right. You're all, you know, it's so hard. Yeah. Even the small guys are just. Phil, who's small, he's very good. He teaches to stand up, and he can just throw you and wrap you up. You know, so my muscle.
No.
At the minute, because maybe if you're like at Gordon Ryan's level, he's muscly, the muscle, because something you said on Sunday, like, is this true? Equally matched in skill, the muscle's going to count. Not equally matched in skill, doesn't really matter so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking about tournaments.
Yeah.
Where the promoter or the association, the federation, they artificially eliminate all the differences that actually matter in jiu-jitsu.
Ah, right, okay.
Right? You have to be roughly the same gender, same age, same weight, same belt. Those are all artificially accounted for. And then, of course, you want to be, since everything else has been equalized artificially, then speed, strength, flexibility, endurance are super important. I mean, they're important anyway, but then they become ultra important. Whereas you're talking about jiu-jitsu as a martial art and defending yourself against someone who's not a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And is probably larger than you. You don't want to be relying on superior size and strength, but only technique is really what's going to save you.
Ah, yes. So in the sport, they've removed all that.
Correct.
So you need the advantage. It's like any sport, right? There's divisions and
any weight class sport. Yeah.
Okay. Whereas in the real world, you know,
you're probably not going to be picked on by a 100-pound woman.
No.
It's probably going to be a man who's significantly larger than you.
Yeah.
Because they think it's going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
Those character disordered individuals, you know, they're looking for someone they imagine to be easy.
Yeah, I get that. So like, you know, like the big, looks tough bruiser, the angry guy who wants to look tough on too many drinks.
And then if you're spending most of your time increasing your bench press and not your technique, and you meet that guy who has double your bench press, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah, okay. Well, it leads me on to something else, because we spoke about this. As, like when I asked you about training frequency, because like when I started, it's getting on for 2 years now, right? I've been training about a year and a half or something. And I mentioned to Glyn at the time, I said, like, I love my fitness and weight training, and I don't want to give that up. And I probably do that, let's say 5 days a week.
Sure.
And then I'm introducing jiu-jitsu, and I'm mindful that I'm in danger of overtraining. And I asked you about like frequency, like I'm trying to aim for sort of 3 or 4 times a week jiu-jitsu. I'd love to do more, but then I'd have to sort of eat into more of my training time. So frequency is one thing. What's a good frequency to start out without me sacrificing my other fitness goals? Because some people do a bit of weight training or strength training, but their priority is more to support the jiu-jitsu.
That's me, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas for me, it's like, no, my weight training is a totally separate goal.
Right.
My fitness and weight training is a separate goal altogether. Right. So I've introduced, it's not supporting jiu-jitsu, it's something else. So like, how do I, what's the optimum?
Sure. I mean, especially for you, but even if you weren't doing that, I would say as a beginner, 3 days a week is good enough. Because you're inefficient, so you're going to need more recovery. That's the physical part of it, but then the mental or intellectual part of it is jiu-jitsu is, it takes your brain too. I mean, you're learning new techniques, and if you're training 6 days, 7 days a week, you're not recovering physically. You have no time mentally to sort of review or visualize what you've learned. Something new. So not only would you be overtraining physically, and I mean, listen, there are exceptions. There are people who can digest information very quickly. They have like eidetic memories, but I mean, for most people, I think from white to blue belt, 3 days a week is probably ideal. Maybe 4, but you want the physical recovery, but also the mental downtime. To kind of digest what you've learned. It's like you get something new and you forget what you did yesterday, and you get something new and you forget what you did yesterday.
Totally, yeah. So you saying like, don't force it. I mean, this is learning in a nutshell, right? And I think I was reading in a book it was in a book called The Impact Code, Nigel Risner, and he said, when you learn something, if you read something, you can remember up to 50%. I don't even think it's that. You have to read a book a few times.
Yeah.
If you read and practice it, you might get up to 75%. If you read, practice, and show someone else, you might get to 90%.
I can see that.
So the learning, the mental part, and the practice are a must, which is why I presume there is no way that anyone could get good at jiu-jitsu just by watching YouTube instructionals. Rolling around on the carpet.
They're very athletic people. I mean, it's a combination of, when I say athletic, I don't just mean strong and fast, but they're strong, they're fast, they're flexible, and they have like really good visual recognition, like they can see something and kind of imitate it. Okay. They can get good at imitating jiu-jitsu very quickly.
By watching it?
Yeah, but they're imitating it.
Oh.
In other words, they're kind of copying the how, but they don't understand the why. And that kind of game will break down at the higher levels when they face people who actually have good fundamentals and understand exactly why they're doing things. And I see that all the time because there is a kind of like hyper saturation of information now. You can basically
is it
watch.
A fake it till you make it type approach? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I think if you only did that, you would never make it.
Yeah.
You would just fake it for life. And you would do well against people who weren't as athletically gifted as you, but as your athleticism wanes, which it inevitably does over time, and B, in tournaments, you're going to meet people who are just as athletically gifted as you, but are actually training intelligently and with a proper coach. And I think it'll be impossible to ever really deal with them effectively.
Coach Glyn always talks about when you're training, you want to develop motor skills, and it's what he always tries to do with us, it's real fundamentals. It's like shapes that you should try and form, and he always relates to whether you're on the ground or stood up, there's always a similar shape between the two partners. And he talks about developing motor skills, and I like motor skills are both, they're like a mental thing where your body, it's like walking, right? You just walk automatically because it's subconscious. Your brain has learnt to control your muscles in a particular way. And when you try anything new, it's like going squatting, back squatting for the first time. Your form's going to be all over the place, which is why you shouldn't put too much weight on. But once
None
you've
at
done
all,
it,
really. None at all, really, right? It should be like a
None,
PVC pipe or something until your form is perfect.
yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu is identical. There's no reason to load improper form, you know.
So how do you speed up you've got to allow this stuff to sink in, and I do get the point, because on Thursday evenings, it's like takedown, stand-up that we spoke about, and when Phil teaches it, because I don't go to enough of them sessions, I feel that it's overwhelming. And I always say to Phil, like, what is the one takedown move that I can just repeat, reps, and perfect, rather than like 100 different.
Sure.
He's talking the four corners in Judo and all that, and I'm like, it's too much. Just show me one. And it's like the body lock, right?
But even the one, I think you're on the right path. But even the one would be based on those things that he's talking about,
like the fundamentals.
Yeah. Back to your earlier question, I don't think there is a way to speed it up, and I don't think it's good to want to speed it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say that certain people won't have individual physical abilities, intellectual abilities, and also, you know, things that aren't individual. They're, you know, rich parents, or the ability to train 3 times a day because your parents pull you out of school and support you indefinitely and things like that.
I mean, I presume that that's the root of, like, someone like Alex, when he was younger, he knew he had to train every day and pretty much live in the gym, didn't he?
Sure.
To get at that level.
Sure.
But if you're like, you got a business, you got a job, you got a career.
So you're not comparing yourself to anyone. Right?
No.
So my point was, I didn't even account for age, but, you know, I mean, there's no way, and there's also no reason to really speed things up. You stay healthy, train as often as you can, and then the speed is the speed. It just happens as it does.
I'm in my 40s and I'm starting jiu-jitsu. I wish I'd have started 20 years ago, you know.
Sure.
Like, imagine.
But some people who start
like,
early
what's the advice
burn
to
out.
start?
They burn out with injuries. They burn out just because they've done it for so long. So, I mean, whenever we start is the best time. You know, I mean, it's like,
to be fair, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than 50, which is better than 60. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, there are people, I see it all the time. Young athletes are oftentimes either self-motivated, oftentimes forced by parents and coaches, and they do very well, and their jiu-jitsu is beautiful. And I've seen it in judo and wrestling as well. But you know, by the time they're in their 30s, they don't even want to be on the mat. They're just done with it.
Okay.
They've forced 50 years of jiu-jitsu into 10 years.
Yeah.
Their body registers that with injuries. Their mind registers that with fatigue. You know, and they're just done.
There's a famous saying like, what's the best time to plant a tree?
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
What's the next best time to plant a tree?
Right now. Instead of thinking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I get that. So like, I do a lot of fitness training and stuff like that. So I know I'm relatively healthy, right? And I know if I'm going to get injured, I roughly know where it's going to be, and I can be sensible. But training jiu-jitsu like that, there's a whole different goal to it. Because if you're like 25 and you're trying to compete, and you've got all that energy, it's totally different to say, you know, if you are in your 40s or your 50s or whatever, you know, you're going to train, I'd imagine, more economically or more efficiently.
Sure. You should. Not everyone does, but you should. It's not just jiu-jitsu. I mean, if you're going to be a pro athlete, you start young enough to where that's actually a reasonable goal. More often than not, you're going to leave a lot of your body in that game. That can be anything.
That is a point, yeah, because any pro athlete is burnt out by they're in the 30s, aren't they? You know, just with the the level and nature of training and
Yeah.
the amount of injuries they might acquire
Yeah.
just because of what's expected. Whereas if you're just doing it for, say, a personal skill, not particularly wanting to, because like, you know, there are some guys in our gym that are like, you know, they're getting on like they're in the 50s or whatever, and they're going competitions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I want to compete? Well, for me at the minute, I'm right at the bottom. I'm like, well, I'm going to wait a bit. You could compete, but I know that if you go into a competition, from what I've heard, as soon as you step on that mat, it's like everyone's going 110%.
Correct.
And it's like, do you want that?
It's personal. I don't think that. I mean, I competed till I was 50.
Did you? Wow.
And I stopped competing. Just I didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. But I
no
didn't.
injuries at all.
Well, I mean, it's
Little
jiu-jitsu, toes and fingers and whatever, but no surgeries, knock
Right,
on wood,
okay.
you know. Partially luck and partially the way I train. You know, I tap when I need to tap, and I don't do stupid things. But what I was saying is I stopped not because I got injured or it was too hard. And my results were fine, but I didn't like the jiu-jitsu I had to do to get those results.
Oh.
It wasn't what I consider jiu-jitsu.
What, like dirty jiu-jitsu?
No, not dirty, but just thinking about time limits and thinking about points and thinking about advantages and things
because you're under that time limit.
Yeah,
you've got
things that made my jiu-jitsu to me very ugly and not I didn't want to be doing that kind of jiu-jitsu, but if you want to win tournaments, you have to. So it's sort of one or the other. You know?
In that scenario, like you said before, the strength would come in and you're using a lot more.
Yeah.
Feels like wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just
Absolutely.
yeah. Right. At a white belt, I feel like there's no pressure on me.
That's a wonderful belt.
Oh yeah, I call it
And
a pure belt.
your learning curve is very steep.
I call it a pure belt because
Yeah.
it's just pure white, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not expected to perform, but I know when I've seen another white belt get a blue belt, all of a sudden they feel this little expectation when really they're not. They're just the same as me. They've just been given it a little bit earlier, and then even further. And what is the biggest gap between belts, and where's the expectation? Like, if all of a sudden you're a new black belt, is there a huge expectation?
yeah.
Where's the expectation?
I think that's very personal. I mean, your instructor some bad instructors might do that to you, but I think most of that's personally imposed. So they might say, now that you're this belt, you're a black belt, you have to beat all the brown belts, which is garbage. But what I mean is, I think most healthy gyms and healthy individuals, that's self-imposed, and to some degree it's healthy. When I got my black belt, Roberto Maia gave me my black belt, and I told him I didn't feel ready.
Okay.
And he said, well, you know, in Portuguese we say the belt should feel heavy, or the belt should be heavy. Like that's a direct translation from Portuguese. It means, you know, yeah, you're going to grow into it because now you're taking responsibility. It feels heavy, you're going to take responsibility for it. That's very healthy.
Yeah.
Your coach awards you a blue belt or a purple belt, and you want to live up to his or her evaluation of you. And so maybe you train a bit more seriously, or you add a day to your training because you're a bit more efficient then and you don't need as much recovery. So if done the right way, I think that's fine, and most people who aren't narcissistic never feel ready for the belt when their instructor gives it to them. Because jiu-jitsu is enormous and beautiful and complex, and you know, you never feel like you have it figured out if you're doing it correctly.
I have no expectation, and I'm like, you know what?
Enjoy white
not
belt.
chasing a belt.
Enjoy white belt, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like.
And all the good jiu-jitsu comes white to blue. I mean, it's front loaded. That's the difference. You have these traditional martial arts where they string you along and say, well, you know, once you've trained with me for 20 years, I'll show you the secrets.
Yeah.
There are none. It's all bullshit. but they string you along like that. Whereas jiu-jitsu, it's all white to blue because they want you to be effective in defending yourself as early and as efficiently as possible. So yeah, most of the good stuff comes white to blue, and then you're just sort of refining it for the rest of your life.
I saw a couple of good courses about that. There might be a Hickson course white to blue.
Henry Akins has a white to blue.
Well,
That's
Henry
beautiful.
Akins got one, and
It's
that's
beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've thought
If you knew, and I don't mean memorize the videos. I mean you really could. You internalized that course. That would be enough jiu-jitsu.
mentally.
Oh no. I mean mentally and physically.
Yeah, because the difficulty with
If
the
you
course
could
is you have
do
to
everything in that
practice it.
course well,
Yeah.
you'd have enough jiu-jitsu for life.
With jiu-jitsu, the theoretical part is there, but developing the motor skill for me is more important, like practice.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
because unless you practice it, it's like, you know, I'm new to it. I don't really know any submissions, any good submissions. I'm not bothered about things like Kimuras and stuff like this. Yeah, I can do them, but I'm not bothered about perfecting the best way to get to a Kimura or Americana or whatever. Because at the minute, I'm just learning a few really good principles in place, and that is try and dominate position before I learn all the submissions. Try and be able to, when I'm on the bottom, escape. Just basic escapes like hip escapes and getting my knee in and elbow and closing that centre space. So I've not learned any submissions, and I'm like, if I can get someone in some kind of like crossface, side control, and hold it and make it difficult for them, that's a win for me.
No,
I'm not
it's
trying to
basically
learn
all you
the leg
need.
locks.
No, I mean, if you don't want to be a tournament champion, if you're talking about self-defense, if you could mount someone and hold them there indefinitely, and no one can hold you down, I mean, that basically you're 98% done.
I've spent most of my time, the way I see progress is, can I not get submitted? So I'm just defending all the
Totally
time.
normal at white belt.
Yeah, and I'm like, right, okay, and Coach Glenn's trying to tell me, right, I need to take more of a risk, like, you've got to loosen up. He's always saying, I'm too rigid, I need to, yeah, you said this on Sunday.
Yeah, of course.
So I've got to loosen up, and then to get to the next level, I've got to now start taking risks, and taking risks opens you up to getting submitted.
Yeah.
But that's progress, yeah. So, you know, I guess I've got to do that.
If you want to advance, you will, yeah, because it's a game. You know, you're having a conversation with that other person, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you just don't say anything, I guess you could say that, you know, you're in a debate with someone, and you could say you didn't lose the debate because you never opened your mouth, but you didn't really have a debate.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're having a debate, conversation, whatever you want to call it, yeah, you have to respond to whatever they're doing. Getting submitted is just part of the learning process, right? You'll see, you know, even though you'll be submitted, you start to see the precursors or the, you know, indicators. Okay, what happened one step before that? What happened 2 steps before that? What, you know, these things appear magical when you don't know jiu-jitsu and they come out of nowhere, but there are all these indicators that you'll start to recognize.
So what about at the top, right? When you're at the very top, like, so obviously you're up there.
But nobody's at the very top.
I know, but relatively speaking to most people, right?
Yeah, but it's just a cycle. Like you have this one little tiny period at the top, and then you start coming down again. I mean,
Right, okay.
if you look like Hicks and Gracie's, you know, for me, and I think arguably, you know, some people will argue, but arguably the best to have ever done it. If you think of gi, no gi, MMA, you know, and then just, you know, philosophy, you know, best to have ever done it. And you know, he has Parkinson's
Past
right
his
now.
peak.
Yeah, he has
obviously.
Parkinson's now, but even before that, you know, he had some real issues with his back and everything. So he had his years, and he stayed on top for a decade or so, I think, more, maybe 2 decades.
Right.
But it's still just a little time up there before you start circling back down, just like life, you know.
Like on Friday, so there's a UK camp, right? It's in Manchester, and the Friday night there's a black belt open mat. You're going to be rolling with all these other black belts. Is that just normal for you? Because like, if you're at the top, how do you improve when you're always training down?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's not that
easy
hard
for me.
Yeah, that's not that hard. If you I mentioned Hickson, but if you look at Hodger or Marcelo, the Mendes brothers, all of them moved to a foreign country. Hodger to London, and the others to America. Pretty much at the peak of their competitive careers, and they started teaching white belts, and they built schools from scratch. I mean, you know, certain people like the Mendez brothers were famous enough, and Hickson maybe too, where they attracted a lot of really good colored belts. But still, they weren't full of a room of athletes at their own level, and they all continued to improve tremendously. And so, you know, it's just training intelligently, handicapping yourself. You know, coming up with drills. I mean, if they just free sparred with a bunch of white belts, yeah, they would win every round and not improve at all.
Yeah.
But there are ways, you know, you let people get into submissions deeper and deeper and deeper until finally you find a place where they can tap you.
Yeah.
And then you back it off like 1 millimeter and play there.
Pete does that. So Pete's one of the black belts under Coach Glenn. Yeah. He starts off sometimes just laying flat. You know, he puts himself in the worst. He'll let you just. Which is start from the most smart. Compromising position.
Which is smart. And that's what I do.
There, yeah.
But it also doesn't take long. If you're a good coach, it also doesn't take more than a few years before you have people that can challenge you, and you don't need to start every role like that either.
And I guess that, like, when you're senior in your jiu-jitsu career, you've got to travel too, haven't you, to improve? Is that a prerequisite, or is it just an expectation?
No, it really depends on your own gym and who you're with. I mean, like Henry Akins has phenomenal jiu-jitsu, and he just never trained with anyone but Hickson. I mean, Hickson was his teacher, and
he lived in that gym, didn't he? Did he go down?
More or less, yeah. More or less. He was there all day. Yeah. But at least when he was learning, now he travels to teach. But as a student, I don't think he was like feeling that he needed to travel. I think he learned basically from Hickson at that school.
So is it more of an organizational thing, like you're expected to travel because of?
No. It's personal. Like if you have a really good gym and you're intelligent and you don't have the wherewithal to travel, or you don't like traveling, I don't think it's a prerequisite. It can help. Yeah. These days, and I used to bring a gi everywhere and train everywhere. Wherever. Yeah. Okay. And I thought it was helping me, and maybe it did, but these days I will not bring a gi. And I say this matter of factly. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but only 2 things happen when I travel, and I'm talking about like non-SBG gyms.
Oh, just like walking into a random gym.
I'm in a city without SBG, and I used to think I have to train. I'm going to go visit the local guys.
Is there not a risk to that because you don't have a clue?
That's what I mean. Only 2 things ever happen. Well, 3. You know, if you're better than everybody, and it's a mellow gym, well, then it's not really any different than training at home.
Right.
If you're better than everyone and it's a really hardcore gym, you'll beat everyone, but you might get banged up and or injured because they're all going crazy trying to kill you. And the third thing is they ask you to teach.
Oh.
And you're on vacation and you want to learn, but then they ask you to teach, which is flattering but not very helpful.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're awesome, do a free seminar, you know.
Yeah.
And so now, and none of those 3 things is very fun or helpful to me. So now I just, when I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation. I mean, unless now I know there's like, I'm doing 3 SBG weekends in a row. Yeah. You know, I will go deliberately to Las Vegas to train with Henry. I'll do things like that with people I know. But if I'm just going to a random city, I won't look for jiu-jitsu because, and again, I'm not. This is subjective. It's my opinion. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but the jiu-jitsu in Korea, like my team's jiu-jitsu in Korea, and then the SBG gyms I go to in America and the UK is just better than 99% of what I encounter anywhere else. And then the ones who are on a high level are oftentimes, you can go to certain gyms where it's high level, but every round is a tournament and everyone's trying to kill you, and that's not that helpful for me either.
Keeping kids motivated. When I started jiu-jitsu, I know, I look at it, I'm no stranger to delayed gratification, you know, in business and career. So I know that when you start something big, it's going to take years. Yeah. Try telling that to a kid. How do you keep them motivated?
It has to be fun, you know. I find jiu-jitsu very fun on a macro level, but on a micro level, it's not fun when someone's, you know, sitting on your head and dripping sweat in your eyes and stuff. But you have a long-term goal in mind. Yeah, kids have a hard time. I think you have to make it fun. And I mean, two things come to mind. Guy Luis, who was in SBG in the early days, and he said something that resonated with me. I had a daughter and everything. He said, kids don't get tired, they get bored.
Yeah.
If they're not bored, they can run a marathon. They have literally endless energy.
Yeah.
My daughter was like that. But if she's bored, it's, Daddy, my legs hurt, carry me, I want to go home, you know. So it can't be boring. And then Hodger, who, you know, one of the top 3 to 5 to ever do it as well, he said, yeah, it was just following his dad to the gym and playing until he was maybe 16 or 17 in high school. He made the decision on his own to be serious about jiu-jitsu and wanting to be great at jiu-jitsu. But until then, his dad just made it fun and, yeah, come with me to the gym, play around a little bit. You don't have to, you know, it's not, I'm not going to treat you like, you know, an adult. Just make it fun, right?
You're right there. It's like with my kids, right? They go to Coach Glynn. It's very, very difficult sometimes, some mornings, like Saturday morning, I was like, speak to my daughter, and she's like looking for every excuse not to go. And it's not, I don't think it's, she's not got the energy or whatever. It's that, it's like the boredom. There's a bit, so I guess like the whole kids game, there's more belts and, because if they don't get a reward,
I think that's fine. Yeah,
and I think
more
you've
belts,
got to do
more
that.
stripes. Yeah,
You've got to do it with kids to keep them
just a shorter attention span.
A little bit of a reward more often.
I have no problem with that. Because at the end of the day, they're not adults, but the goal is to keep them interested until, like Hodger, until they become young adults and make the decision on their own to continue. But if you lose them before that because it's boring or too strict or too regimented, you know, then what's the point? The whole point is to keep them in it for life, right?
I tell my son, I say, like, you know, imagine what you're going to be like in your 20s. You're just going to be able to, like, I wish I'd have started when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid, we were having a chat on the drive over, picked John up from the station. I was doing karate, right? And I loved it.
Many of us started there. I did as well. Many of us started there, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was all that was available when I was young.
Yeah, until I watched UFC 1, it was like, what is going on here? Like, I thought it was the best, you know, Karate Kid, all the movies. I was like, come on.
It's a typical story. A lot of people don't realize that UFC 1 had the same effect in Brazil.
Did it?
Oh yeah, the Gracie family and
but it exploded.
Their immediate jiu-jitsu was very small. It was basically the Gracie family, their immediate relatives and friends. It was a very small thing, and everyone was doing kung fu and taekwondo and karate and
everything.
Just like America, just like the UK, thought that was better. And it wasn't until Royce won. I mean, everyone knows how it happened outside of Brazil, like you just mentioned. But even in Brazil, people were like, "What is this? There's some Brazilian dudes doing this thing, and they're beating everyone." And so a lot of people jumped ship from judo, especially like Sao Paulo had a big Japanese population early on and a big judo scene. A lot of people jumped over from judo then, and that's why the Sao Paulo style is, now it's different, but when I started training, the Sao Paulo style was less technical, more physical. Because they didn't have the real technique. They were just coming from judo, and they kind of compensated for the lack of technique with physicality. There's still a little bit of that left. But not so much, because you've had a full generation go through, and some really good people like Fabio Gurgel moved up from Rio and kind of implanted that original Gracie style.
Yeah, but to move from the judo to the Gracie style was probably not as big a bridge to say move from, I don't know, Shotokan.
No, it can. I used to think that too. So I asked Claudio França. I've never gotten a belt from Claudio, but he's in Santa Cruz, which is my hometown. So he wasn't there. So I moved to LA and I started with Hickson. But when I would go back, he opened up once I was already a blue belt. But when I would go back to visit my family, I would train with Claudio. So I've trained with Claudio over the last 27 years. And at first, he got a lot of people jumping over from wrestling and jumping over from judo. And they're very tough at white belt and blue belt because they know how to grapple and the other people know nothing. And I said, oh, it must be great. You're getting all these guys. And he said, no, it's worse. They have all these bad habits that I need to fix. Those are weight class sports. They're not martial arts, and people tend to use too much strength and speed. And so it's, I mean, you have an early advantage, coming over from judo and wrestling, but it becomes a disadvantage unless you're able to kind of put it away and start learning real jiu-jitsu, fight off your back. No, especially fighting off your back, which doesn't happen in wrestling and judo.
Well,
it's a huge part of jiu-jitsu.
Wasn't that the most amazing thing, though? Seeing Gracie fight off his back, and you think, what? This guy, you'd normally, before that, you would get absolutely pummeled, wouldn't you?
Henry talks about this a lot. Like, he calls guard a kind of art-defining position, because if you look at still shots, photographs of Sambo or judo,
it looks vulnerable.
or no. I'm saying if you look at still shots of Sambo or judo or catch wrestling, you'll see identical techniques to jiu-jitsu.
Right.
In photographs.
Right.
When you watch an actual tournament or a fight, we're the only ones. They've all kind of implemented it more or less, but originally jiu-jitsu was the only one that really emphasized fighting from the guard.
Am I right in assuming that modern jiu-jitsu incorporates all these different things now? Incorporates a bit of judo, incorporates a bit of wrestling?
Of course. It's not necessary to have good judo and good wrestling to win at the highest levels of jiu-jitsu, but it's extremely helpful. The problem with judo is a beautiful sport.
Yeah.
Can be a beautiful martial art. Problem is, do you make it through without injuries? I mean, if you can add judo to your jiu-jitsu will be a lot better. But the training of judo, I mean, there's a lot of good judoka in Korea. They're all knees and shoulders and back. I mean, they're just wrecked.
In terms of like supplementing your jiu-jitsu, what do you do to support your jiu-jitsu in terms of your regimen? It's been like a wave my whole career, and it depends on how much extra time and extra money and extra energy I have. Right now, for the last several years, I go to a place called Power Zone Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and really great coach. He started as a physical therapist, but by training. That's what he studied at university, and then he got into, he met with Pavel and got into the kettlebells, and now I think the program is Strong First. Right. That's the current iteration of what Pavel's doing, and it's great because they do kettlebells, they do barbells, they do body weight. And he has a really good way of making sure that mobility and strength never get out of balance. So using those three, your gymnastic type stuff, body weight type stuff, barbells, and kettlebells. We work on strength, and if it's getting a little better, then we go mobility, strength, mobility. I mean, always keeping, because you get in trouble when you're very strong but stiff, or hypermobile, hyperflexible, but not strong enough to support it, right? So he's very good about that. And then, and just like jiu-jitsu, I mean, saying that weight training is good or bad, or yoga is good or bad, I mean, there's a lot of good jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of horrible jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And you need to find a good coach, right? So I'm blessed with a very good strength and conditioning coach, a few very excellent yoga teachers. Oh, you do yoga? Yeah, so I would, I did yoga 7 days a week for a couple of years. Yeah. And I just felt like it was wonderful, but my strength was a little bit lacking. There's yoga, you have to be strong to do yoga properly, but there's core strength. But there's no pulling motions, right? And there's some things that it's lacking. So I've dialed that back, and ideally I would be, basically Monday, Wednesday, Friday at Power Zone, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at yoga, and Sundays off. And then jiu-jitsu, minimum would be 4 days a week. And then sometimes if I have extra time, I'll do 5 or 6 days a week. Yeah, I remember something you said about your jiu-jitsu frequency now has probably tailed off a little bit because your jiu-jitsu's, it's advanced and tight, so you don't have to train as much of it. Whereas I'd imagine earlier in your career you was training a lot more jiu-jitsu. Yeah, there's a time when you really don't need separate strength and conditioning. Yeah. I think because you're inefficient. And so jiu-jitsu, you don't have the technique, and so it's not. I never deliberately use strength, and I'm not a super strong person. But you simply don't have enough technique not to use strength. Early on. Okay. And so there were times when it was just better for me to train jiu-jitsu every day, because I was, between the warm-ups and the sparring,
the warm-ups are hard no matter what, and then the sparring was hard because I lacked the technique I have today.
Yeah.
But as I became more technical, I could do jiu-jitsu every day and not really have a strength and conditioning component.
I like the fact that you said about mobility too, because I do believe, like, especially as if you look at what are the causes of mortality, because I'm big into like biohacking and longevity. The causes of mortality to me are high body inflammation, so that's all about diet and making sure you eat healthy and stuff like that, whole foods diet. But the next one is, as you get older, you will get weaker.
Yes.
So maintaining strength so that you don't have, it's like bone density and strength and some muscle. It's like a bank balance to me.
I
the
agree.
longer you can keep it, the better it's going to support you. And the other one is mobility, which you get stiffer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so I'm glad you said mobility.
Oh, it's huge.
It's like when you train a squat, right? Everyone does back squat, and when you watch these people that back squat loads, if all they've ever done is back squat, and then next minute you do a single leg exercise and they're wobbling all over the place, and they've got no strength on say a Bulgarian split squat, single leg,
right?
Because you haven't worked on mobility
Yeah.
and like lateral strength. When you do a back squat, you can compensate if you've got like a bad hip. The other hip could do a bit more, and
for sure.
yeah. Okay.
And like I said, I'm blessed to have a really good coach who balances
Understands that.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of mobility work, a lot of balance work.
Yeah.
To me, it's just a very thorough program. I mean, just trying to be a power lifter and increase back squat, bench, and deadlift.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like powerlifting is a sport unto itself.
Ego lifting.
Right. Well, if that's your sport, that's your sport. But if you're talking about health and longevity in general and for jiu-jitsu, there's a point at which, it's going to be different for everybody. But if you can, you can squat and deadlift twice your body weight. If you can bench press your body weight, you're not strong by those guys' standards.
Oh, it's a totally different
but it's enough.
muscle.
But it's enough. When I do strength and conditioning or when I do yoga, I always make sure my guys know this. I've lost many times in jiu-jitsu, but I've never lost and thought, if I just had a bigger bench press, I would have won. Or if I could do the splits, I would have won. It's for health and longevity in life and jiu-jitsu, but it doesn't make my jiu-jitsu better.
I've seen debates online about which is which is the best martial art, and you've probably answered this question a million times. You got people saying, "Oh, you don't want to learn jiu-jitsu because if you end up on the ground, someone's going to come over and kick you in the head."
Sure.
Kickboxing and taekwondo guys thinking that's the best. Jiu-jitsu always thinking that's the best. I'm thinking, do you need a bit of everything? How do you answer that? Which is the best martial art?
First of all, if you're talking, it depends on your goals.
Yeah.
Right. If you're talking about MMA, as the name implies, it's mixed. You need it all, and you need to be a pro athlete, and you need to train it all.
Yeah.
If you're talking about a single martial art, the first UFC's already proved that jiu-jitsu is the best.
Yeah. Single discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're talking about and Gracie jiu-jitsu, not Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but Gracie jiu-jitsu already has enough. You're not going to become a pro kickboxer. It has enough punches and kicks, knees and elbows, headbutts, takedowns. It's all in there. It's another interesting thing about Henry's White to Blue course. It's all in there.
Yeah.
If you look at the SBG fundamentals, it's all in there.
Is that training as if you're going to be striked and hit?
Both.
Yeah.
How to avoid, and then how to get into positions where you can strike without being hit. Any kind of asymmetrical position, standing or on the ground. What I would add to that, that Hoist basically settled that debate in America and Hickson in Japan. So anyone who's arguing now is kind of disingenuous. But
well, there might be a few comments. You always get it.
Of course.
No.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And
yeah.
Some people believe in the Easter Bunny. So what I was going to say about I've trained Muay Thai and I've trained boxing, and they're very fun. But jiu-jitsu also gives you options. I mean, if all you have is a hammer in your toolbox, you hammer down nails, but you also hammer in screws, and you break boards with a hammer when you should have a screwdriver and a saw and a wrench and all these other tools. Jiu-jitsu gives you the tools to end a fight without, you know, knocking someone's teeth out or giving them a concussion, or potentially killing them if they fall and hit their head on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then you win the fight, and then you go to jail, or you lose your house, or whatever. You know, that's not a win in my book.
No.
Jiu-Jitsu is so in this idea, like, if you go to the ground, you know, then 3 people are going to kick you, and it's like, of course. But if you train Jiu-Jitsu, you're the one who can choose to keep it standing, or choose to go to the ground, or know how to get up off the ground safely and efficiently if you have slipped or been knocked down. Whereas those guys, it makes no sense. I don't want to go to the ground in a fight, therefore I'll never go to the ground in training. Well,
you want to know it.
The moment you do, you're just helpless.
Oh yeah, you want to know.
You're just you could be a black belt or a world champion in some stand-up martial art, and then the moment you're taken down, you're back to being a ranked beginner. You know.
I am so grateful that I started, because that point there, even now where I'm at, you know, training a year and a half or whatever, I know that if I ever, you know, come into a difficult situation, I generally avoid all that, you know, I don't get drunk or anything, but if I got into a difficult spot and I ended up on the ground, I'm so thankful that at least I would, against an absolute normal human, we're not talking like a jiu-jitsu
and if you don't want to be in the UFC,
I could probably get out of that.
Right, if you don't want to be it's different even if you want to be in the UFC, but yeah, in terms of just a martial art, for protecting yourself, you'll be fine. Yeah.
I think I'll be, you know, against a normal person on the street, even now, a little bit of training, I think I might be able to have a better base.
Yeah.
Probably not go to ground as easy.
Not might.
Yeah.
You will. I mean, that's what training is. And it's, you know, that's what, so when I got my blue belt, Luis Heredia, who was the head instructor under Hickson, he's in Maui now, but he was running Hickson's gym, because Hickson was a pro athlete, and he would come in a couple of times a week, but he wasn't running the day-to-day
just other coaches.
academy. He was busy being a pro fighter.
Yeah.
So Luis gave me my blue belt, and he said, okay, if you came here to learn how to fight, congratulations, you're done. And I said, what do you mean? He said, if you have a blue belt under Hickson and under me, like, unless you get really unlucky and, you know, some you know, Olympic wrestler or Olympic judo guy happens to pick on you in a bar, like, you're done. Like, you can already finish 99% of the people out there.
Right.
Everything you do from blue belt for the rest of your life is just because you love jiu-jitsu and you want to get better at jiu-jitsu. But if you just want to fight, you know, a real blue belt under a real instructor, you're basically done with self-defense. You know.
So what about things like, because I did a bit of Krav Maga,
sure,
a bit of kickboxing, like, and this probably goes into when we was at the weekend, I was with Anthony, but he's also jiu-jitsu, but he's also very good at karate, right?
Okay.
Things like Krav Maga and karate, right, at the very bottom, but also at the very, very top end. Jesse Enkamp, what's the other guy? Wonderboy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, that level, they're at insane level at karate.
So a couple things. I don't know about Jesse Enkamp, I just know he's all over the internet. You know, Wonderboy's obviously cross-trained, he's in MMA.
Yeah, he's
so karate's
insane.
his base, but he's cross-trained in a lot of other
everything else.
Krav Maga, since that was your original question, the problem I have with those types of styles is, what did you learn to do if someone grabbed your shirt? How long did you train?
I did it for a few months.
Right, but I'm saying if someone like grabbed you and held you, what did you learn to do?
Pushing their elbow over to trip them, get them on the ground.
Okay, what I've seen, and Kempo is like this as well, is, you know, a lot of groin kicks and eye jabs and throat punches and all this.
Yes, or is it that?
Wonderful, but when you're in front of the judge, and this guy, you know, you poked one of his eyes out, or you know, you put him in the hospital because you hit him in the throat, and the judge says, what did he do to you? And it's like, well, he put his hand on my shoulder.
Oh, that's not going to wash, is it?
No. You know what I mean? Like, you have no, jiu-jitsu gives you actual options for, you know, controlling things without getting very violent and getting into a lot of trouble.
Better in the courtroom.
And even their advertisements to me are stupid, because they say, oh, this is like the martial art of the Israeli Special Forces.
Yeah.
Well, the Israeli...
that sold it. I think that,
of course,
that name sold it.
Of course, but because people are stupid. But if you think about it logically, the Israeli Special Forces,
Well, trying to kill people.
their job is to shoot you. And if they can't shoot you, so stab you. Civilians can't use a martial art like that and stay out of jail.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I mean, it does.
And it doesn't work. But even if it worked, it would be indefensible.
It does feel that, to me, jiu-jitsu, there's I know there's you talked about the other gyms where you go in and everyone's just a complete lunatic, but most of the time with jiu-jitsu there is a level of like respect for the opponent, and it's I don't know, maybe it's a bit more gentlemanly,
Every gym's different,
yeah,
but ideally there would be, and ideally in a good jiu-jitsu gym your energy is being mirrored. So if you come in humble, and like I go to gyms and I don't try to tap people in their gym, I think it's rude. I don't visit anymore, but if I'm visiting, even when I can, I don't. But if you go in there and you tap the first 3 people, then they're going to send bigger and better people after you, right? Yeah. I think a good gym doesn't try to kill you, but they'll mirror your energy.
What's the future for you then, John?
More of the same. Yeah, I mean, I feel really blessed. I train a lot. I have no injuries.
Feel healthy and
everything. I feel great. And so, and I know, like I said, it just goes in a big circle, You're born and you're helpless and you're wiping your shit on the walls and everything. And then you go and you're a little bit better. And then at some point you're at the top of your game. And then if we live long enough, we're back to wiping our shit on the walls, So I know it's coming, but my job is to prolong it as long as possible for myself, for my family, for my students,
Stay strong.
Yeah, like longevity, since you're into this space, one of the big words that really I heard it maybe 3 or 4 years ago was health span rather than lifespan.
Yes.
Like lifespan on machines in a hospital means nothing to me. I'm into health span.
You don't want to be incapacitated.
No, it's like how long can I maintain health, which is, good for jiu-jitsu, but just, being able to live alone, fulfilling life without being a burden on those around me, and being productive and contributing. I mean, my job is just to prolong that as long as possible, all the while knowing that it ends the same for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so, I'm not dreading that, but I'm not going to do anything to hasten it either.
Most people should just focus on living a healthy life and health span, because I think there'd be nothing more miserable than spending the last 30 years of your life barely being able to move because maybe you didn't look after yourself in the other.
There are a lot of people like that all over the world, and it's growing. I mean, I was, I go to America much more often than I come here.
Right.
I had this prejudice, which is totally true, about Americans and their health problems.
Yeah.
But then
is it real?
Oh, absolutely real.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
And but then I flew in and went right to Scotland, and it was like being in certain parts of America.
We have a similar thing here. I'm quite critical of the healthcare industry. I've got to be careful what I say here, but the healthcare industry focus on solving symptoms rather than root causes, whereas to me...
you were saying the healthcare system. Rob Wolf, have you read Rob Wolf's stuff? Yeah. So he calls it the sick care system.
Well, it is.
He's like, it's not healthcare, it's sick care. They wait till you're sick, and then they take care of you. They're not caring for your health. Even once you're in the hospital, they give you stuff that's basically all carbs and it's going to make everything worse. And
yeah, it's like, instead of starting at the bottom, I mean, 75-80% of your problems can go away just from sorting your diet out, sleeping very well, and doing some exercise.
So CrossFit, I think, got a lot of things wrong and went off the rails. Went off the rails with the CrossFit Games. I mean, just like Jiu-Jitsu kind of went off the rails with pure tournament Jiu-Jitsu. But CrossFit coincidentally started in my hometown.
Oh, right.
And so I know Greg Glassman personally. I trained with him personally early before there was a CrossFit as it's known today. And eventually a lot of things went wrong, but in the beginning he got a lot of things right. And one was his pyramid started with just nutrition.
Yeah.
That was the biggest, widest part. Everything else, up to your individual sport performance, was built upon that.
If you look at CrossFit Games, I mean, I spoke to this with Adam, who's my friend PT, who trained me for years. He says all them CrossFit athletes, they're not healthy.
And I know some of them. They'll be
beat.
That's what I was saying about jiu-jitsu. Like, if you want to be a pro athlete in any sport,
Yeah.
you're going to leave a lot of your body in that game. But the difference is, I say, like, let's say American football. Those guys, if they're stars,
They can't be
they'll
healthy at the end
No,
of
but they'll
their
be
career.
making like $250 million a year.
Yeah, sure.
So there's an actual cost-benefit analysis.
They get to rest later.
Whereas in CrossFit or Jiu-Jitsu, it's like, oh, I'll give you some free shoes and some free underwear. You know, none of those people are making $250 million a year.
No, they're not.
So I don't think it works out the same way.
Well, what about someone like Gordon Ryan or like the
yeah.
Craig Jones thing, trying to chuck money at?
Yeah. So first of all, the exception that proves the rule. Professional American football, you could be the worst person on the team, never start in a game, but if you're on the team, you're making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Whereas in jiu-jitsu, one guy's making $1 million and everyone else is getting nothing. You know?
yeah, okay.
So it's a different cost-benefit analysis, right?
Yeah. One of the poll, you think like what UFC is, it's equivalent like in the UK with football.
Sure.
Not American football, you know how
Yeah.
soccer you call
Yeah.
it. All kids at school look up and want to be a football player.
Of
But how many
course.
end up there?
Right.
And it's same in UFC, you know,
Yes.
all kids want to be, you know.
Everyone around them wants to be Connor now.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I think if you start young enough and you have a good coach and they're honest with you about
You live on the mat,
yeah,
sleep on the
well,
mat.
they're honest with you and you're honest with yourself about the risks and rewards, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's
Only a
just
few are
when the
gonna make it.
whole sport revolves around that, it's horrible. And you have 35-year-old people who are working 60 hours a week and they just have a new family and the coaches expect them to be like that. And of course they can't be like that
No.
and they get injured and jiu-jitsu is too rough and it's not fun and it's impractical and that has to be a small and voluntary sort of subset of your jiu-jitsu.
It's been great to chat
No,
to
this is
John Frankl. What I'll do
thank
is
you.
I'll put John's contact details in the bottom. You can go and find a lot of John's stuff online, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and
See you all next time.